So, guys, I've been noticing some things, and it's very much what I've went through, what I can relate to. And I mean, the struggle is just like how to get in shape with the way that your life has changed, with your lifestyle circumstances now, whether you're working full time or you have a business or a family or a spouse or whatever it is. Like a lot of us were able to get in shape back in the day, when we played sports or when we were in college or high school, whatever it was. Like for me, it was never an issue for me to really get in shape whenever I was in high school playing sports. Like I'd fall out of shape in like the off season or something and then get right back into shape because I had a team, I had a coach, I had structure. But none of that prepared me for the real life. Nothing prepared me for how am I actually going to stay in shape. Nobody ever taught me how to eat, how to manage my meals. Um, and I, it's something that I keep seeing where people are like, "Yeah, I just need a program to stick to. I just need a meal plan to stick to, and I'll be good." But you're not going to be good. Like nobody is looking at the big picture. Anybody can hop on a program, anybody can hop on a meal plan and make a transformation in a couple months because they're going to stick to that, because they're going to isolate themselves from their environment. They're going to stop going to work dinners or to networking events where there's food and drinks, or they're going to stop, taking their spouse out to eat or going to social events, whatever it is. They just isolate themselves, they cut themselves off, and you can lock into a program for a couple months and make progress. But then you end up rebounding and you end up just flipping right back to your old habits because nothing has prepared you for how to navigate those things. Like there's something to be said for the discipline that you can stick to for those couple months for sure whenever you are on a plan. But what the real test is going out in the real world and being able to like actually maintain that discipline, because everybody's looking for the perfect program, but the perfect program doesn't exist in an imperfect life. There's going to be days where you're stuck at work late, or you're sick, or the kid's sick, or something happens. The boss needs you to travel somewhere, or even good things where you're being celebrated at work and he wants to take you out to a nice dinner or something. And it's like, how do you put that into a program? Because you're not going to be able to. Um, life changes. It's always going to be throwing things at you, and I mean, the easiest way to get stuck is just to wait for that perfect time, wait for that perfect week. That's what's going to leave you in the same spot forever. So now, how do you actually like adapt your lifestyle? And it's something that I've had to went through. Like I went, like I said, got in shape in high school. Went from being fat to being like fairly in shape. I wasn't like anything special by any means. Went to college, got fat again, and then got back in shape, then got fat again because it was the same thing. I locked in for a couple months, isolated myself from social gatherings and things, and then as soon as I started going back to that, I didn't know how to manage myself. I didn't know what to actually do. And that's whenever I realized that I had to actually like change who I was deep down, because if I didn't change who I was, as soon as I, let myself off the leash, I was going to go right back to those old habits. So it's a mental battle. It's psychological of just being able to like actually become the person that doesn't need to, whenever they go out to eat, just throw down, the greasiest, most fried thing on the menu or whatever it is. Or if that is you, that you want to do that sometimes, that's fine. But we have to manage the rest of your eating, the rest of your time, to account for that. Like for instance, tonight, I know that I'm going out to eat for my girlfriend's brother's birthday, So I already looked at what I'm going to eat, which I know this may sound a little crazy, whatever, but it's what you have to do. It's nothing to me because I again have become that individual where now I just plan for things. So I already looked at what I'm going to eat, planned for it, and then I've ate my calories for the day around it. And one thing I do with a lot of my clients that I think is very easy is planning some meals, but also allowing yourself freedom because it lets them learn to manage things. It lets them learn how to actually, like, okay, I have this much protein left. What am I going to pick when I get off work and I'm feeling tired and I don't want to pick the best thing? And it builds character. It's not just hey, eat this exactly every day because I know exactly what's going to happen. As soon as they're off the program, they're off the program and they go right back to them old selves. So it's building character, it's building your decision making. And so, like, a lot of times I'll be like, all right, here's your typical work schedule. We're going to do this in the morning, do this for lunch. Let's have those constants. We're going to, keep your calories in a good spot, have your protein in a good spot for those times, get you like some pre-carbs in before your workout, whatever, to give you some energy, especially if you're doing it like after work or, first thing in the morning. But then giving them a calorie range for dinner where it's like, all right, let's see how you fit things in this calorie range. What decisions are you going to make when your girl wants to go out to eat? What decisions are you going to make when the kids are crying and they want certain food and you're like, well, that doesn't fit my macros? What decisions are you going to make? Because that's what builds the long lasting results. It's not what you can do for 3 months, it's what you can do for the rest of your life. And so many people struggle with that because, in the past, again, whenever you're getting in shape for sports or you're getting in shape for while you're in college, you can just go balls to the wall, train really hard, do a bunch of cardio, kind of, maybe skip breakfast or something, and you'll lose a little bit of weight or lose a little bit of fat, I should say, get in shape. And that's just not how it is anymore. You don't have time for that. You don't have time to try to out train your diet. It's not what you do for your 4 or 5 hours a week in the gym. It's what you do with those other hours. It's being consistent with your sleep, getting in a routine with the gym. It's being able to do things with those meals, with your, one free meal, whatever it is. You don't have to look at cheat meals when you're having sort of like a free meal every day for dinner. But again, keeping that in a calorie range, still making a good choice with protein. And then over time, whenever you are challenged with that decision every single day, what you're going to pick for that meal, don't you think with you actually having to pick something for that meal, with you having to do that every single day, that's not going to build momentum, that's not going to build a habit, that now when you go places, you are going to just start automatically gravitating towards those meals because that's what you've been picking, because that's what you're used to now? It's like a little psychological game that I kind of play with them. But of course, I'm helping with those meals too, where I'm like, all right, I saw what you did whenever you went to this place for this meal. Here's how we can tweak it to make it a little bit better. Make those choices. I see next time they go there, okay, they made those changes. How did that go? That was great. I felt fuller. I felt more satisfied. The meal was better, whatever. It's little things like that that compound and snowball. You'll hear me talk about that all the time, where it's like snowballing those decisions and just compounding these effects where now you are slowly over time becoming the individual that without even thinking about it, you are going to go to that place, or you're going to go out to eat, or you're going to go to this event, and you are just automatically going to pick these things. It's not restricting you. I don't want to restrict anybody. I think there's a level where, like, sure, if somebody's 80 pounds overweight or whatever, there's going to be a time where we are going to have to restrict things a little bit to get the ball rolling. Obviously, things are not always going to be flexible depending on where you're at. But at the same time, making people actually make decisions, bettering those decisions, and continuously making those good decisions is what makes people last, is what makes this last for a lifetime, makes people be able to do this forever. And guess what? When you're doing this day in and day out, you having a little cheat or a little, a little thing of ice cream or something on the weekend or whatever, a cookie, it's not going to make a difference because you're consistent so much more than you're not. And it's your decisions that you're being consistent on 90% of the time, which is what leads to that long-term success. It's not you being able to follow an exact thing every single day, because you're not going to have somebody there to tell you what to eat every day. You're never going to have your schedule perfect where all of your meals are prepped, or you had time to have that dinner prepped. And I know that you're going to have to make a quick decision because life's not perfect. Because I've been through it. The same shit. As soon as I started working 10, 12-hour days, I was like, man, it's hard to have fucking meals prepped all the time. Yeah. So I had to start making decisions where it was like, okay, if I'm tired tonight, I'm not going to make a meal and I'll just eat out somewhere. But I know what to pick now. So the point is, there's not ever going to be a perfect, exact plan for everybody unless somebody is a single man with no friends, which is totally fine because that would make things pretty easy. But again, you still want to set yourself up because you're probably not going to be in that position forever. So life's busy, life gets to you. You have to be prepared for that. And you have to build that discipline over time. You have to test yourself as well. Don't isolate yourself from environments forever because that's not going to be the thing. Build that discipline in the dark for a little bit and then test yourself. Put yourself in these situations. See what decisions you make. And once you continuously make those good decisions, shit changes. You become a new person. So I'll leave it at that, guys.